We have made it to free agency here in the season number 1 offseason in the Golden State Warriors, my NBA franchise here on NBA 2K24. And along with free agency, we'll be getting through the rest of the offseason to prepare ourselves for season number 2, which will be starting in the next episode. Last time around was the draft. We saw some big moves. Trae Young is a Spur. Zach LaVine to the Clippers. Jaren Jackson, amongst others, to the Celtics. Derek White to the Grizzlies. Darius Garland to New Orleans. CJ McCollum to Cleveland. Followed by the draft itself, which had some surprises as well. Martin Sifa going number 1 overall, the talented French wing. Did not see that coming, with Miko Kaponen going number 2 to the Grizzlies and Bardo Campolo at number 3 to the Blazers. As for us at number 22, we decided to stick and pick. We explored trading up one spot to number 21, but ultimately did not strike a deal. And we ultimately picked Antoine Celis, the 19-year-old combo guard from France. I think this is somebody who can be a really good 6-man microwave scorer type, an impressive shot creator. He can create for others as well. Has a lot of work to do defensively, but he can put the ball in the bucket, and our second unit needs a lot more scoring and shot making. Brandon Pajemski cannot do it all alone. So going into the offseason, we've got some big storylines. Jimmy Butler with a $52 million player option. He is not technically under contract next year. Jonathan Kuminga, also not under contract. He's a restricted free agent. We've floated around the idea of trading him in a big deal at the deadline, ultimately deciding to keep him. And that should certainly signal the interest we have in giving him a long-term extension. Outside of Butler and Kuminga, not many key free agents. Pajemski's on the team option. Obviously, we're going to accept that. But otherwise, no major free agents for us. So Jimmy Butler has declined the $52 million player option, and he will be entering unrestricted free agency. I thought he was going to accept it, given his age and given how much money that is, but he says no. LeBron, Kyrie, Chris Middleton, Rudy Gobert, all of these big player options, they all decline. Harden as well. That one is a surprise. And that'll bring us into free agency. We will extend the qualifying offer for Jonathan Kuminga, and now we are ready to spend. Now we've got some spending money, being that Jimmy Butler is not under contract anymore. Jonathan Kuminga is obviously not under contract either. It's a talented class, and while we want to focus on bringing our own back, it's no secret that this team has to make another move. Last year's core is not good enough. We've got a good nucleus of guys, but we got swept in the first round of the playoffs. Running it back would be probably the worst thing we can do, considering this is not some young team who's growing. Our 2 best players a year ago are quite old. So we'll start with Jimmy Butler. Not a major surprise. We want him back. He was inconsistent in the playoffs. They did have a really good game 4 against OKC, but in the first few games was up and down. We made the trade for him at the deadline with the idea that he's going to be here for a few years and ride into the sunset with Steph Curry. So we're going to give him a 1-year deal, the player option for year 2, for $40 million. Now, if you remember, the original salary he had was for $52 million that he declined. Jimmy Butler wants to take less money. He wants to help us get some more cash to ultimately go out and spend on good role players, along with bringing back Jonathan Kuminga. We're going to give him a 4-year deal, $28 million a season, with a player option for year 5. So with that, we do have a little extra money to spend, and I want to create a little bit more. We floated around the idea on draft night of trading Kyle Anderson to the San Antonio Spurs. Unfortunately, they're not going to have matching salaries, so I think Atlanta would work instead. The Hawks are a team who don't have a lot of veterans. They are fully rebuilding. Trae Young is gone. They need a grown-up in the room. And I thought Anderson was pretty good last year. The numbers aren't going to stand out, but if you look at his per 36 numbers, he was pretty good. True shooting percentage at around 59. Highest effective field goal percentage of his career. And in return, we'll be getting 3 second-round picks, adding to our treasure chest of draft capital. The big reason why I made that trade is because there's a player listed in the affordable contracts who I want. I made it clear that this guy was a target at the deadline for us, and it's Miles Turner, the big man with the Pacers. Miles Turner fits this team perfectly. He's a 3-level scorer, can score inside, can pop out and shoot the 3, and obviously he's a terrific rim protector, averaging around 16.5 points and 9 rebounds on solid efficiency. We're going to give him a 3-year deal with a player option for year 3 and around $23 million. If he says no, I think we have some solid backup plans with Naz Reid and Clint Capella there as well. But obviously, Miles Turner is a perfect fit. I think he might be the missing piece here and would absolutely be a great addition for us. And all 3 guys except Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and Miles Turner have accepted their contracts to sign with the Golden State Warriors. Going into the offseason, my plan was to not make a splash on draft night. Maybe we move up a little bit. Maybe we move down a little bit. Obviously, we ended up standing pat. And that's because I wanted to wait until free agency to sign Myles Turner. And ultimately, we're going to get it done. I want to simulate past moratorium just to make sure that all of our contracts go through before we start offering others. You do not have enough room to sign Myles Turner. Awesome. So Myles Turner is no longer signed. He's back in free agency, and we don't have enough money for him. But it's okay, because I have a plan. I figured there was a chance that this would happen, and if in the case that it did, we would need to get creative. My thought is that we work out a sign and trade with Indiana to make sure the salaries match to help us land Myles Turner. And if we look at our current contracts, let's try to find a matching salary here. I think there's a pretty easy candidate for us in terms of guys who would work. Obviously, we're not trading Steph. We're not trading Jimmy. We're not trading Kuminga. And that leaves us with one. Draymond Green perfectly matches the salary that we would be signing Myles Turner for. Draymond Green was not particularly good last year. I'm not sure how interested Indiana would be. But it's not like the Pacers can get a full trade package for Myles Turner. They don't have leverage because Myles Turner has obviously made it clear that he's planning on playing for the Warriors this year. So what we're going to need to do is have Indiana sign him to the same deal that we did. He's actually going to make a little bit more money out of it thanks to the bird rights, so this works out for Myles Turner quite well. Step 2, find a sign and trade. The only offer here includes Jimmy Butler. So obviously we're not going to do that, even though we would be getting back Benedict Mathurin. This would be a pretty stupid deal for us. Now, I don't think this makes a lot of sense for Indiana because I don't think Draymond is a great fit for them, so we're going to need a third team. And I think the Los Angeles Lakers would actually be pretty interested. LeBron James playing with his buddy Draymond Green. We're doing Draymond right. Obviously, he's a Warrior legend, but he doesn't fit this team's timeline anymore. So we're going to send him to the place where he would want to go, the Lakers, because obviously he's going to want to play with his good buddy LeBron James. We're also going to be losing Ricky Council in this deal. He's going to the Pacers. I thought he showed us some good flashes last year, but you got to give in order to get. So we'll be losing Draymond, we'll be losing Ricky Council, and we'll be trading 3 second-round picks. The Lakers are going to send Rui Hachimura and Max Christie to the Pacers. I couldn't find a center on their roster for them to trade Indiana. Center is obviously the big need for the Pacers, with James Wiseman and Weston Weaver being the only 2 guys here. So the thought process is that we're going to bring a 4th team into this deal. Rui Hachimura is not going to the Pacers. Instead, he's going to the Bulls for Zach Collins. So from there, the 4-team deal is done. Everybody has agreed to their part, and Myles Turner is officially a Golden State Warrior. You can easily make the argument that Indiana did not get fairly compensated for a really good player in Myles Turner, but keep in mind, it's a sign-in trade, not a regular trade. I looked at some past sign-in trades over the years, and I felt like this overall value was the most fair. If anything, we overpaid a little bit, but obviously it's going to be worth it. So first of all, gotta salute Draymond Green, Warrior legend. We're going to miss that 39% field goal shooting and 23% three-point shooting. But on a real note, of course, he's one of the greatest Warriors ever, and he leaves just one offseason after Clay. This Warriors team is truly changing. The big 3 is down to 1, but we've given Steph a really good supporting cast with Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and now Myles Turner, the latter of whom kind of feels like the missing piece on this team. But we still need depth. I like our guard play, I like our bigs, but we don't have a lot of depth on the wings. We're going to be relying a lot on guys like Caleb Martin to really step up, and I want to look at free agency to potentially add a few other faces. Unfortunately, the highest rated affordable players we can get are not particularly great, but I think some of these guys could be solid bench pieces, including Karis LeVert. Solid shooter, okay defender, he can create for others. We're going to give him a 1-year deal, and we're also going to offer Guerschon Yabusele. Big guy, can score from all 3 levels, versatile defender, former first-round pick a while ago by the Celtics, mostly played overseas before spending this year in Philadelphia. We're going to offer both of those guys. They both accept, but unfortunately, we're only going to have enough money for one, so Guerschon Yabusele will sign, but Karis LeVert will not. Now we have even less money. We can really only offer minimums. And I like the idea of adding Hamidou Diallo, a high-energy guy, probably not someone who's going to be in the regular rotation, but if somebody gets hurt, he's somebody who can give us a spark. He can drive to the basket. He's a good finisher. He isn't the most overall technically polished player, but this is somebody who can run the floor really nicely, and again, I think will hopefully be used as a spark plug when necessary. From there, we re-signed Jared Butler, and now we have our roster filled out. A guy I was kind of hoping to sign going into free agency was Lonzo Ball. I felt like he would have been a really good fit off the bench, but he's asking for too much money. We cannot afford him, and he does not seem to want a minimum. As for some of the movers around the league, a lot of guys returning to their previous teams. LeBron back with the Lakers on a one-year deal for what's expected to be his final season in the NBA. Kyrie Irving gets a big extension from the Mavericks. Jamal Murray back to the Nuggets. Chris Middleton back to the Bucks. Jalen Green back to Toronto. No surprise that they signed him to an extension after their big trade. The most notable mover is Naz Reid, who signs with the Nets. Minnesota offered him more money, so clearly he really wants a big offensive role, thinks he can get that in Brooklyn. D'Angelo Russell going to the Raptors. Corey Kispert going to the Blazers. And that brings us to player progression. And obviously the older guys at the top going down. -1 for Steph, -2 for Jimmy. We kind of know with these two older players, it might be now or never if we want to win a title, given that these guys are going to continue to go down. Jonathan Kuminga gets a +3, Buddy Hield goes down 3. But Adem Bona going up by 4 is an exciting one, and maybe he can be a bigger part of our rotation and get some real playoff minutes for us. Draymond, by the way, goes down by 5, so it looks like we were pretty vindicated in trading him away with his big loss of rating now with the Lakers. That brings us into Summer League. I don't really know why Pods and Trace Jackson Davis are here, but I'm excited to see Adem Bona with his big offseason, and I'm certainly excited to see the rookie Antoine Salisu. So unfortunately, Brandon Podziemski broke his ribs in the first game. We lost to the Knicks by 2 with a really good showing from Adem Bona. As for Salisu in his debut, he goes 1 for 6. Against the Sixers, we win by 11. Trendon Watford played really well. Antoine Salisu was much better. That's good to see. And then we lost our final game to the Atlanta Hawks. Adem Bona, 23 and 8, while Antoine Salisu, again, did not shoot overly well. He did have 6 assists, though, and 3 steals, so he was pretty impactful in terms of not scoring the basketball. Adem Bona and Trendon Watford led the way in terms of scoring. As for Salisu, he averaged 8 points in the 3 games on not-so-great shooting splits. His true shooting percentage comes in at 46%, which is quite low. In the first round against the Raptors, we lose, so we'll be 1 and done in the Summer League playoffs. They got Lonzo on this team. Lonzo's playing in the Summer League. That's kind of depressing, as Jonathan Mobo leads the way with 21. Our leading scorer only has 12. Salisu, meanwhile, 1 for 10. Yikes. So his shooting splits really go down, and his final true shooting percentage for the Summer League is 38%. That is horrific, and hopefully not a sign of things to come as the Magic win the title. Jet Howard averaging around 21 points per game in Summer League. That led everybody across Summer League, and with him being on the best team as well, he pretty easily wins the Summer League MVP. That brings us to the final part of the offseason, including the FIBA qualifiers. Steph Curry playing for Team USA as the starting point guard. They'll be going up against Team Canada. And ultimately in this matchup, a very high scoring game. Not really what you would expect in FIBA. But Team USA wins 149 to 126. It looks like the box score of an all-star game. The Celtics duo, Tatum and Brown, leads the way, while Curry had 11. Jamal Murray with 30, and this guy Marcus McCollum, who's not even a real player, shot a tour date, 5 for 16. Not ideal. Why is Zamir Logan here? He's not even Canadian. The All-Star City, Detroit. Say what you want. I think that would be a fun All-Star weekend. As for the draft class, you guys know the drill, of course. Player submissions for the Season 2 class are open in the Discord server. Link is in the description. Farewell tour for LeBron. We'll see them on the 28th of November. I'm really curious about when we play them at home because that'll be Draymond's return. January 15th and January 24th, we'll see the Lakers. Let's look at our rotation for opening day. Curry, Hield, Butler, Kuminga, and Turner will be the starting 5. Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis lead the bench unit. Really curious to see how Miles Turner and Trace Jackson Davis play together. And then outside of the top 7, the other spots in the rotation are up for grabs. For now, we'll roll with Yabusele, Martin, Bona, and Salisu. Our opening matchup will be against the new-look Memphis Grizzlies with Derek White and the number 2 overall pick, Mikko Kaponen. Our in-season tournament starts pretty early on. We've got the Suns and the Wolves to start November. The Lakers and Blazers in there as well. And so that'll wrap up the episode. I know it was a short one, but outside of free agency, we didn't have a whole lot to go through. Next episode will be the start of Season 2. Miles Turner and Antoine Salisu make their debuts with the Warriors. Make sure to leave a like. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And let me know what you thought of our offseason down below in the comments. Peace out.